I'm here with Debru, the creator of Nyege Festival. Derek, thank you very much for participating. It's a pleasure to talk to you and hope to meet you in person soon.
Thank you, obrigado.
My de nada. My first question is, what was your pre-Nye life like? How did you end up in Uganda?
Yeah, so I ended up in Uganda a little bit by chance, but also not so much by chance. By chance because I was originally in Ivory Coast working on some film projects until there was some sort of political unrest and I had to move and came to Uganda by chance, but not by chance because my grandmother was born not far from here in Burundi. And for a long time, I always had a sort of need to reconnect with this part of the world. Before Nyege Nyege, I was working in film, mostly with Kampala Film School, teaching and making films with students, as well as commercial films. That was my main activity. And from that school and that community and the sort of film nights we would organize, morphed into parties, and that community started to gather more and more people from different walks of life and different sort of interests. And out of that, our journey sort of started.
Okay. Talk about your passion for African culture and music. How did the Nyeg Nyeg tapes stamp arrive? Are cassette launch an aesthetic option or a market issue?
Yeah, so those are two questions. The first one, I think I'm passionate about culture in general and music, and especially um, culture and music that is not represented well enough. And I feel that there's so much diversity in our world that sometimes we feel that this is it's not always easy to access. And I think it's important to for each and every one to be well represented. The decision to do cassettes in the beginning, it was an economic decision, because we of course aesthetic, because we like the fact of having a physical product associated to music, and also the analog sound of a cassette is as close as you could get to a vinyl, which at that point was difficult for us to afford. So we thought, because there's so much digital music out there, it's a little bit easier to stand out when you have a physical product. And so it was a combination of reasons.
And how was it to launch a festival in Uganda?
Yeah, it was very exciting. The first one was really I don't know how to describe, like chaos, total chaos. It was raining for 4 days. The guy that brought the sound system did not know how to fix the wires of the sound system, and we didn't know how to organize a festival. So at that point, we sold very few tickets, but we gave out a lot of tickets. So about 500 people came in the forest, and it ended up being a great moment. I think organizing a festival in Uganda is at one point much more easier than in certain places that might have more regulations, or where you need a lot of budgets and investment to do things. And maybe it's sometimes a little bit more difficult because there aren't that many festivals, so not all the service providers are easily accessible. You can't just order this or that and just wing it into a festival like you would do it in other places. But otherwise, it's an exciting experience.
I can imagine. And Belgium is famous for its nightlife and club culture. Does it influence the way you organize your parties there?
No, not really. Actually, I did not club that much when I used to live in Belgium. I wasn't that much connected to that scene. And in retrospect, when I go back and club in Europe, I actually miss the Kampala or Ugandan way of approaching sort of club culture and party culture. It's very free. It's very much oriented towards dancing. It's very much a social experience, and sometimes I did not find as much sort of warmth and atmosphere um, in Belgium as I would find in Uganda. There's also much less drugs in Uganda, so that also changes a little bit the dynamic of the parties, I think. And at least our parties are also extremely diverse, which is also something that is quite rare to find in Belgium, unfortunately. So I think no, it did not per se influence me.
And how can a white European be part of a culture in Uganda without interfering with local culture?
Yeah, that's a very valid question, and a question that us sort of foreigners in our organization constantly um, sort of think about. And I think how is first of all, um, whether it's dealing with music or any other sort of culture, you have to be very careful and not think that you're bringing something. You don't have to think that you are bringing something. Like my work is more about facilitating what is already there and trying to create access where it was maybe more difficult to create access before, and to participate in an energy and a movement that I am not the initiator of. So I think that's very important. For us, we always decided to do something that was in line with our community here and the necessities of that community. And I think it's also good to be part of it, but one has to be very very careful, because especially when we deal with representing other people and other cultures, and as in now, for example, I'm talking to you, a Brazilian, about Ugandans, and me, I'm Belgium, so that position, it can sometimes be complicated, and I think in the future it'll probably not be me, sort of addressing these discussion with you. I sort of landed here, so I try and do my best, to constantly sort of act as just one member of a greater community that is composed of mostly African artists, and I think that's very important. White privilege is a reality. It is something that what white people really need to consider, especially when they come here. It comes with power dynamics. It comes with sort of advantages that can be utilized in the favor of our community here, as opposed to being utilized for, let me say, my personal gain or my personal values. And we've seen it sometimes with certain movements of electronic music on the continent being led by foreigners, by white Europeans that have a very specific idea of what electronic music is. And for me, I never came to Uganda to advocate about techno or about drum and bass or about house or whatever. And in the contrary, I was actually finding that I would find electronic music here that was not considered to be electronic music where I came from, and that is something that became very dear to my position with regard to what I'm doing here. So sometimes I feel I'm more of a sort of vector of deconstruction amongst white Europeans, and my work is also present there. That to try and demystify and deconstruct certain ideas that people might have here, as opposed to really telling people in Uganda, where they should go or what they should do or what they should think.
Yes. In 2014, Uganda's Minister of State tried to ban the festival because, according to him, Nyege Nyege was all about open sex, noise, and homosexuality. How did you deal with that?
Yeah, that was a complicated moment. For 3 years, our festival was always extremely free and very open to everyone, including members of the LGBT community, which are our close friends, amongst others. But as well as in terms of social classes, it was very diverse. And in the fourth year, we got a sponsor, MTN, which is the big communication company in the country. And all of a sudden, our event became sort of much more known. And that was the time where the Minister of Ethics, which had earlier advocated for the death penalty towards homosexuals or banning the miniskirt, and is a sort of ultra-conservative fringe of the government, um, sort of viewed the festival as the worst evil that could ever be. And he came to the festival to say that, okay, this is going to be cancelled. You're hiding in the forest, and you're having sex with animals, and you're having open sex, and you're trying to bring young people into homosexuality, etc., etc. So luckily, he's not so representative of the government. So that case very quickly came to Parliament because the event was just 2 days away, and then in Parliament they sort of laughed and said like, "But why are we? You know, what are we thinking here? You know, this is creating a lot of jobs. You know, this is creating a lot of publicity for Uganda, and we cannot. You know, we have to let it continue." So it was also very good in terms of, you know, seeing that we were also supported, but it did create a little bit of tension. You know, during the festival, there was a lot of sort of spies, you know, that were checking if, you know, there was homosexual activities and these sort of things. And but it was an important moment because, you know, the Uganda is very mixed and very open, but there's also, you know, some more conservative, you know, parts of the population. And I think at that time we weren't very good with just communicating what the festival was about to the general population. But luckily, we at that point we had enough support in Uganda from Ugandans to stand up, and from journalists and members of the parliament and artists to stand up for the festival. And up to today, there is still, you know, pastors that would like to see it shut down and that accuse us of this one and that one. But usually the people that come, they are transformed in a certain way, and they know that we are not politicians, we are not activists in the more conventional in the more conventional side of the term. You know, we are trying to promote Uganda, and we're trying to promote Ugandan artists, and to create a space where people can express themselves freely within the law, and nothing more than that. So I think it also resonated a lot with international and Western media, who constantly, you know, when there's something negative about Africa, they jump on it. You know, they love to say like, oh, you know, Africans are homophobic, or Africans are poor, or Africans are this, or Africans are that. And so that was a little bit, you know, in a way, nobody understood us. You know, like for Western media, they thought Uganda was homophobic, and for Ugandans, they thought we were, you know, evil worshippers. So it really needed a lot of communication and work on each side, and time by time, I think we were able to clarify certain things. And this year with the COVID, a big part of our festival will be on national television, so there will also be a chance to really sort of address everyone and explain again what Nyege Nyege is about. I think the name in itself, you know, unfortunately does cause a bit of problems, because in certain languages in Uganda it means an instrument, in certain languages it means a dance, in certain languages it means a feeling that you want to dance, and then in certain language it means horny. So for certain people there is a bit of a sexual orientation to that, and the sort of festival culture and madness that comes with a festival, because that is, you know, what happens, can be a bit surprising maybe to the outsider, and that's why there was some of that confusion. But I think that's normal, you know, like when you try to do something that's a little bit, you know, new and on the fringes, that it will always attract, you know, some people that don't really like it, or don't really understand it.
Yeah, I'm gay, and I'm feel it's really good to
Don't
hear.
fear.
You
Yeah,
say what are you saying? Because you are transforming people and you are making it possible somehow for LGBT people to express themselves
yeah, and
through
it's
music.
very, yeah. I think through the festival, if I can add something to that, is that it's very inspiring also for LGBTQ, people to come to Uganda and see that there's also, a great community here, but also people that are straight are also very friendly, and it's not a scary thing, and every year we also invite artists that are non-binary, and that's it's important, for also that community in Uganda to not to feel that others can also come, and that's, of course there are issues, but there's also a lot of good things to see and to happen. So if you come, you should not fear.
No, I will do it. I will go. I will
Yeah,
go.
you have a good time,
Uh,
trust me.
I'm pretty sure.
Mm,
Um, the electronic music scene in Africa is something vibrant. In your
mm.
opinion, which bands should people know? What would you recommend for people?
I mean, it's very hard to recommend certain bands over one another. It really depends what sort of music you're into. If you're more into live music, there's bands like Sauti Soul or Niloxica that are really exciting right now. If you're more into experimental electronic music, people like Kamaru, people like Slickback, people like Zilla, for example. Then, if you're into more, pop music, you could look at like Nuthoni the Drummer Queen, or Just a Band, or Biggie Bill, or others and I'm talking about East Africa now. But then there's also a lot of different genres of music. So I would invite people to maybe come to our festival in December. They could see a lot of different acts there, and maybe to check out, some of the genres that are out there, like gengeton in Kenya, or like singeli in Tanzania, or there's a lot of great dancehall also. People like MC Yala, Ratigan, you know, there's a lot of them. I'm happy to try and share a list, but I think it's good also. This is a little bit where maybe I'm not needed. If it would be good for people to just go and check out, some of those styles, and do a bit of research, and you'll discover a lot of amazing music, also great traditional music. If people want to see the music we put out, we have two record labels. One is called Akuna Kulala, and the other one is called Nyege Tapes. And we try also there to showcase a lot of different music coming through from the region.
Okay, so getting to our last question,
Yeah,
how do you believe that music can transform the world and the future?
I think right now people are very divided, and the reason that they are divided is that they have difficulties talking to one another and difficulties understanding one another, and everybody is getting packed into this sort of global space. And for those that are outside of that space, it's also quite hard sometimes to enter. And music somehow can be understandable by different people from different cultures, from different walks of life. And I think it can create great avenues of communication, of mutual understanding, finding your own identity, finding your own way to express yourself. And I think even today, sound is becoming, more and more political. Even, the music you play in the club, or the DJs you book, or, like music is becoming, music is a weapon, as Fela Kuti would say. And I really believe so. It can do many things. It can bring peace, it can bring reconciliation, it can create jobs. It can, make people feel certain things that are otherwise maybe harder to feel. So it's very important, especially considering that nowadays, we get bombarded by sort of mainstream. pop culture, that there's a lot of other types of music out there, and it's quite empowering to the musicians when they gain new fans and when people connect with what they're doing. And so I think this is a great way to for us to be better together.
Yes. So Derek, thank you very much for your time, for participating. Was really
Pleasure.
inspiring as a gay guy in Brazil to talk to you and to understand that the festival is creating a possible and a safe place for people to express themselves. Thank you
Mm,
very much for doing it there. It was amazing to
thank
talk to
you.
you.
Yeah, great to talk to you. Thank you very much, and be safe, huh, in Brazil.
Okay, I will try.
Yeah, and
Thank
we have one project coming out with a Brazilian group, a very very famous Brazilian band. I cannot reveal the name, but it will come out soon.
Oh, come
So
on.
hopefully,
Is it from São Paulo? No, kidding.
no, it's from Bahia.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
it's gonna
and
be something really good. If it's from Bahia, I
yeah,
have no doubt.
it's gonna be fun. And if anybody wants to join our festival, it will start December 3rd. It will bring together about 45 African collectives, including Brazilian collective Tormenta, and we will create a program together over 4 days. And all Brazilians are invited to join.
Okay, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye bye. Yeah.